Hello friends and welcome, and thank you for joining me for my favorite video of the year, a flip through of my completed reading journal. My name is Britt, and if you're new here, I make journaling, art, and book review videos. The journals that I used in 2024 for my reading journal are these soft cover dot grid notebooks from Cognitive Supply. And I ran out of space in the first one, so I ended up using two of them throughout the year. So this year I chose a hardcover one from the same company so that I had more space in it. The links for these notebooks and all the other materials that I can remember where I got them from will be linked in the description box if you see any materials in these that you're interested in. All right, so this first spread was for my reading goal for the year. And if you've seen any of my other videos, you'll already know that I don't really like goals in general, so I didn't know what else to call this, so I called it a reading goal. But it's really just a tracker so that I can see how many books I read. And this also functions as my genre tracker as well. I always do this kind of box format genre tracker in all my reading journals. I really like how it looks. And in some years, I'll color the boxes in. And then this year, I chose to use these washi tape dot stickers. It comes in a pack with different colors like this. And I really like them because they are transparent, so you can still see the number underneath. And so far, as of filming this, I have a few days left in December, so I might add one or two more before the end of the year. But right now I'm at 85 books for the year. And most of them were audiobooks, and a few were digital review copies, and then a few were physical books that I purchased myself. Probably at least 80% of the things that I read are from my library. So that's where I get all my audiobooks. I don't have an Audible subscription. I just use my library for that, and also for ebooks. In here, I didn't really have a theme for all of the annual pages to tie them together. I just used kind of interesting fonts, and I used a lot of this brown craft paper and a lot of this acrylic paint pen. If you want to see my new 2025 reading journal setup, I'll link that up above and down below. That does have a theme. It's got kind of a neon colored, cute garden creatures theme, and it's got all hand-drawn illustrations with colored pencils, so check it out if you want to see that one. And one other thing about reading goals is, if you like goals, if they work for you, then great, go for it, but don't feel bad about how many books you see anybody else reading. Moving on, here we have a read every day graph, and then the Buzzwordathon challenge over here. Again, I'm using that craft paper, and then I was just looking up different fonts and using an acrylic paint pen to do the fonts. This is very simple. You just put the date along the left side and the month across the top, and you just color in if you read that day or not. Again, I did not have any kind of goal that I should read every single day of the year. This is just something for me to keep an eye on and see like where I had some gaps. Like end of December, I haven't really been reading at all. I've been busy making videos for the end of the year and wrapping things up. So I didn't finish any of the challenges that are in here, but they're just there to give me some ideas of what I can read in case I'm not sure what to pick up. This is the Buzzwordathon. It's done every year by Books and Lala on YouTube. So if you're interested in the 2025 version of that, you can check out the links in the description box. Basically, there's just a word every month, and you need to read something that fits into that category. Let us move on. Okay, here's the big one that I didn't finish this year. So the Pop Sugar Reading Challenge. Again, I'll link the new one down below if you want to see it. This is the big challenge that I usually do every year. This is the first year I haven't completed it. I cut out the craft paper to make the title. I really like how this looks. And then I just used mild liners to do the boxes. And then my idea was to print out the book covers to fill them in so that I would have this nice, like, filled in bunch of pages. That is not how it worked out because a lot of it is empty. In order to print these book covers, I use this HP Sprocket printer. As I've mentioned in many previous things, this quality is pretty bad, but it's easy to use. It prints out on sticker paper. As long as you don't care about the detail and the color being exactly perfect, it's fine. So for me, in this journal, if I'm just printing out little teeny tiny book covers, it's fine. I would not recommend this to print out like photos that you want to keep for memories or something, because the quality is just not up to snuff, in my opinion. I'm going to talk about some of the books I read a little bit more when we get into the months, so I'm not going to say much about that here. So we'll just flip through here. And this challenge has 50 prompts. Usually some of them are bonus prompts, so there's either 40 or 45 regular prompts, and then if you want to make it harder, you can also do the bonus prompts. A lot of these are things that they were just too specific. So like published 24 years ago, that was actually hard for me to find something that I wanted to read. Set 24 years before you were born, that was hard for me to find something. An LGBTQI plus romance. I'm not a romance reader. I don't enjoy it. So I was planning on just finding a book that was not a romance, but that had a romance in it as part of the plot, but I didn't end up finishing that. The next couple sections are spreads for specific genres or authors. So in hindsight, I should have put these into some kind of like long-term journal so that I could keep them, because I didn't remake these again. That's kind of weird to remake them every single year when it's going to take multiple years to get through it. These are all the Shirley Jackson books that I own, that I bought. That's my backlist that I'm trying to get through, but I didn't finish any of these this year. These were all finished before this year started. These are stickers that I just bought from Amazon. This is just washi tape, those dot stickers again. And then for this title and for this list, I just printed it out with my thermal printer. This is the thermal printer that I have. It's from Faux-Memo, and this is the T02. They have some newer models, but I actually really like this. Thermal printers only print in black and white because they're using heat to kind of create the black on top of the paper. But I just have white sticker paper. It comes in a roll and it just prints out the top. This works well for anything that's just text that I want to put into things. And then next we have Agatha Christie. So again, I thought I would read more of these this year because for a couple years there I was really heavy into Agatha Christie and I kind of got out of it. Eventually I do want to finish these because I only have a few left. But this is all the Poirot books, and these are all the Miss Marple books. So eventually I will come back to these series when I'm in the mood for that kind of cozy mystery stuff. And so this has kind of a, I don't know, cottagecore kind of theme. I just have some craft paper and some acorn stickers. Again, all the text is printed out with the thermal printer. And then this is Stephen King. Everything that Stephen King had written up until the point that I made this. And again, this is thermal printer. And then these, I used that little color HP Sprocket printer. And I wanted to put that carpet design from the Shining movie into here. So these were really fun for me to creatively think of different ways to decorate them that would kind of go with the author. So I really enjoyed that. And then this is the 24 most influential horror books. This is from an article from Book Riot. Again, if you want to see it, I'll link it. So this is what their editors consider the most influential horror books in history. I read a bunch of these last year, and I thought I was going to continue through reading a lot of these horror books this year, but I didn't really end up checking off very many of them this year. These little star stickers I made myself just in Canva, and then I printed those out with my thermal printer as well. And then the only thing you need to know about that is if you use a thermal printer, the only pen that's gonna write on it without smudging all over is like permanent pen. So this is actually Sharpie that I use to color in the star ratings. And this is kind of a nice gothic font that was really fun to do. And I do want to get to all of these. Last year, horror was my most read genre, but then this year I still read a lot of horror, but I kind of ended up reading a lot more literary fiction. And then this is my ABC challenge page. I did this almost exactly the same way in my new reading journal for 2025. I just changed the decorative parts. I did pretty well. Again, I wasn't really attempting hardcore to finish this, so I wasn't like actively seeking out a J book or a V book or something. I just put the very first book of the year that started with that letter into each of these spots. And then I just need to print out one more little one for King Leopold's Ghost. I just finished that one. That's a nonfiction about the Congo that was very good. Very disturbing, but very good. And then this area is my TBR, or to be read, list. Again, I continued using that craft paper, and then underneath is this marbled washi tape. So I have these 2 pages and then one more page on this side. I had 3 columns for horror because that's what I thought I was going to read the most of. Didn't end up that way, but that's what I thought. 2 columns for other, so that's any other genre, and then for arcs. I just crossed it off with a mild liner, this tan mild liner, when I read something. These are my arcs, or advanced reader copy is what that stands for, which are review copies that publishers or authors will give to people to read before the publishing date and then write reviews to create buzz for the book. So I use NetGalley. All of these were e-arcs, so they were ebooks, not physical books, but some publishing companies, if you're a big enough influencer, they'll send you actual physical books. So these are the ones that I still haven't finished yet that I need to do at some point, even though it's like months past the time. And then over here, I started doing a tracker for my Instagram and YouTube follower account, I guess. If I'm being honest, I hate this page. I think it's ugly how I decorated it. I'm not going to keep this information in my reading journal next year. I'm going to do it in my planner instead. And then this is my book log. So this is how I keep track in a list format of everything I read in 2024. Some people like to do this in various different ways. You can have just printouts of all the book covers, or a lot of people like to do a shelfie, which is when you draw a bookshelf and then you see all the spines of the books and then they color in the spines or write the title of the book in the spine when they finish a book. I like to keep it like this because I print out the covers of the books in all of the months later on. And I recorded the title, the author, number of pages, publication year, the dates I read it, and then if it was for a book club, I put a check mark next to it. So again, you can see I got to 85 this year. And then this was a little future log. I used a little bit of collage up here to decorate. And then I just have every month of the year, and then the releases that were coming out that month that I was interested in. And I filled it out at the very beginning of the year, and then I never looked at it again. So I will not be continuing that. All right, now we're getting into all of my monthly spreads. So each one of these months is going to have a different theme. It's going to have statistics about my books that I read, the book covers, and then little reviews here. So as we go through, I can kind of let you know what my favorites were for each month. This is my least favorite one that I made in the entire year, I think. But my concept was to do umbrellas because in California where I live, the winter is a rainy season. And so that was my inspiration. This is mostly all acrylic paint pen for all these, all the silver and black and everything. And then this is cutout paper for the yellow. And then I have my craft paper here. I read 12 books in January, and then I had a little bit of statistics that I got off of my Storygraph app. And if you want to see me setting up any of these months, I have a separate video for every single one of them. And I also have a video for filling in all the information and giving you book reviews at the end of the month. So if If you want to see any of that, you can check out all those videos on my channel. And so then here are all the books that I read. And then I have a little calendar in each of these months too. It doesn't really serve any functional purpose, but I just like to see like what span of time I was reading each of the books. And out of all of these guys, my favorites were Annihilation, Authority, and Acceptance by Jeff Vandermeer. That is one of my favorite series of all time. It's the Southern Reach series, and it's sci-fi and horror about kind of an alien presence that's taking root on Earth, and it's very creepy, very weird, and I love it. So this was a reread, I think. I've actually read those 2 years ago, but I started off the month, the New Year strong, and I brought in some of my favorites to reread. Out There by Kate Folk is more sci-fi, and that's short stories. It's the first thing that she's published, like long form. It was really good. I also recommend that one. And then here are my little book reviews that I just wrote out. And this is mostly just to remind myself about the plot and what I felt about the book, because I don't have the greatest memory a lot of times when I'm reading. I'm more in the experience of reading while I'm reading. I'm not reading for retention like I would for academic stuff. So if it really makes an impression on me, I remember it. But sometimes, even if I enjoy a book, it doesn't always stick with me. So this is nice to have. All right, February. This is one of my favorites. I feel like this is like the most me of any of the spreads that I've made this year. I love pink. I love chartreuse green. I love the theme of like UFOs in the desert, and this is my favorite thing that I like came up with creatively for a spread. I love that I thought of having the A being abducted out of the word February. I just think that that's hilarious. Anyway, this is acrylic paint pen again, which if you're not familiar with acrylic paint pen, it's literally like a marker that has acrylic paint in it, but it dries really fast. So you can't blend with it like you might do if you had real acrylic paint. But it works really good on most paper. It doesn't buckle the paper too much like watercolor or something. So I really highly recommend it for in your journals and stuff. And it doesn't smear too badly or anything like that. I use the craft paper down here as part of the mountain range. And then here are my statistics for February. I read 11 books. I read a lot of really good books this month. The Women Could Fly, We Cast a Shadow are both really good books by Black authors. This has a lot to do with like misogyny and the patriarchy. This has a lot to do with racism in a really interesting way. Very well written books, amazing prose, love it. And then Martha Wells, the Murderbot series is another one of my favorite series. Again, this is a reread, so I was revisiting some of my favorites in the beginning of the year, so I absolutely always recommend Murderbot, especially if you are not that much of a science fiction person, but you kind of want to test the waters a little bit. Murderbot books almost all of them are novellas, so they're nice and short. They're very easy to read, and the character of Murderbot is very funny and very sarcastic, so I recommend that. This book was actually really good too. Womb City by Tlotlo Tsamase. It's another very interesting science fiction, and it's set in Botswana. That's where the author is from. It has a lot to do with patriarchy and capitalism and colonialism and all those things in a very creative way. So that was another really good one. For these book review boxes, I kind of continued the same landscape from these ones, just in the background. All right, moving on to March. So my theme for March was a retro computer theme with kind of pastel colors. For this, I looked up a reference photo of the very first Mac computer that was sold for people to have at home. So that's what this drawing is. I just found kind of like a retro computer font. And then over here are my statistics for the month, and it's all these floppy disks. And I read 11 books again in March. And a lot of times I like to list the countries that the different authors are from in my statistics for the month. That's something that I really am trying to do as a goal, is to read from as many different countries as I can. The illustration underneath is the motherboard of the first Mac there. It's just would have been green in real life, but I kept it with the color theme here. And then this is kind of just a generic 1990s PC. And then again, I read a lot of amazing books in this month too. The Fire Next Time by James Baldwin. If you're American and you have not read this, like, pick it up immediately. It is amazing. Gorgeous writing. It was written in the 1960s. It talks a lot about civil rights in the United States, and just beautiful. That was a reread for me as well. I really love this duology. It's another sci-fi duology. A Memory called Empire and a Desolation called Peace by Arkady Martine. It has kind of like a spy, political intrigue, solving a murder plot in the first book, and then a little more of a first contact with aliens plot in the second book. Just really, really good. All right, and then for the book review pages for March, I really wanted them to look like the windows on the first Mac. So I kind of copied what the windows looked like, and that's what I did here. And then I just had a blank space here based on the number of books I read, so I just filled them in with some little diskettes. So April was one of my viewers' favorite videos. This monthly setup video has, I think, the highest number of views of any of them. And I really love this too. Definitely different from the style of the art in the previous ones, but I used black paper for the background, and then I used a gel pen and acrylic paint pen to paint on top of it. This is all done with acrylic paint pen in like a pointillism style, which is when you do ... forever in order to make the picture. And my theme was fireflies this month, so this was taken from a reference photo of fireflies in a forest at night. And then over here I have a canning jar with some fireflies coming out and some little glowy mushrooms. For the statistics page, I did that kind of gallery wall look again, and I did a different frame around each of these pieces of paper. I read 8 books that month, and Razorblade Tears and The Adventures of Amina al-Sirafi were probably my favorites that month, but I really liked The Change and The Membranes as well. This is a thriller by S.A. Cosby. S.A. Cosby is an amazing thriller writer, if you haven't read any of his work yet. And very emotional, very violent, but also like the characters are so empathetic and feel like real people in them. And then The Adventures of Amina al-Sirafi is a really fun adventure book about pirates, basically, and demons and things like that. Just a fun romp. And then for the book review section, I just did a little more decorating around the edges with those same colored acrylic paint pens. And then I used the green gel pen to write everything in. And then I had an extra page and I didn't fill it in with anything, oddly. So I don't know why I did that. Moving on to May. This is another one of my favorites that I did. I did an origami theme here, and I love, love, love this color theme. I just love warm colors, and I just love how the drawings turned out. Again, this is acrylic paint pen with ballpoint pen over it for the shading, and then white gel pen for the highlights. And then this is the stats for the month. And this is when I started printing out some little pie charts with my Sprocket printer to paste in. And I read 14 books in May, which is a ton of books. I don't know how I got through so many. My favorite book of this month, hands down, was The Bell Jar. I love a sad girl book. I can really identify. Oh, and then this is another absolutely top tier book of the year. This might be my favorite book of the year completely. I'm not sure. Untold Night and Day by Bae Swa is a very kind of fever dream, surreal book. It's very short. It's easy to get through. It takes place during one night in Seoul during a heat wave. It's amazing if you like weird fiction. A lot of these are really good. The Eyes of the Best Part was one of the best horror books that came out this year, in my opinion. Amatka was really good. That's a science fiction. And then Death Valley by Melissa Broder was another kind of surrealism fever dream book that I also really enjoyed. And then this is what the book review pages look like. Just continued that gold border and a couple of the flowers. And I didn't want to make a whole new spread, so I kind of crammed in 4 to a page here so that I wouldn't need to make another set of pages for this one. All right, and then here's June. And I love this illustration of the jellyfish, but I do not like what I did to the background. I regretted that after I had done it. That would have worked much better with a darker color, bluer color that isn't so green, and a different kind of marker instead of like highlighter. My stats, I only read 3 books that month, so this is where I started to get into my little summer reading slump. No problem. So these are real species of jellyfish that I looked up what they looked like, and then I just changed all their colors to purple. They're not all purple in real life. But I love these weird little guys. They look amazing. They were fun to draw too. I only read 3 books that month. Pizza Girl, When We Were Orphans, and Dance, Dance, Dance. They were all pretty mid for me, so I wouldn't really say I had a favorite that month. They were all fine, no problems. I liked them, I enjoyed them while I was reading them, but no like major standouts. And then for the book review area, I decided to try out a vertical layout instead. And I put these little moon jellies at the bottom. I think they look so interesting. So yeah, that's June. That's the end of the book. There's only a couple pages left back there. So we will switch over to the second half of the year in our other notebook. Alrighty. All right, so now we're getting into content that was not in my mid-year flip through. So this is the new stuff. This is the month of July. I think this is my viewers' second most favorite spread. This one and the UFO one are my favorite as of right now, until I get reminded of a different one maybe, but this is acrylic paint pen and ballpoint pen. I did a lot of nature sketching in this. It's a camping theme. I kept the color theme simple: browns, orange, and black and white. So I have this gorgeous campfire illustration here with a little bit of foliage decoration around the outside. And then we have a sketch of a little kettle and a tea mug here. And I read 5 books in July. And then again, I printed out my little pie charts there. Oh, I had a great time doing this little tent sketch too. And to bring the orange into this one, I colored in this little lantern orange. And then the last sketch for this one was a s'more. And then here are the 5 books that I read. My favorite for that month was Paradise Rot. This is translated from Norwegian. And it's another like weird surrealism, sad girl book. And there's also a lot of fungus involved, which I love mushrooms and fungus, so that was my favorite for that month. If you want to hear like real book reviews, longer book reviews, watch my reading wrap-up videos. And then here's my little text portion. I did the verticals again and then just decorated with a little foliage at the top. And moving on to August. So if you've seen some of my other videos, you might know that I really enjoy that kind of old-fashioned botanical guidebook type of drawings. So that's what I was going for in August. It has this kind of desaturated, muted color palette. So I used mild liners for all the coloring, so they would be very light colors. And then I have the common name and the scientific name written in for all of these plants. These are all wildflowers of California. I live in California, that's why I chose that. And then for the calendar, to show where I read the books, I used little strips of the craft paper on this one. And then I read 5 books that month. My favorite's probably a toss-up between these two. In Ascension was a just gorgeously, lyrically written sci-fi book about like what it means to exist. Very philosophical, really good. And Toward Eternity has like a multi-generational story. It's the first novel by Anton Hur, who does a lot of translation. I think he actually translated this book. Really great science fiction. Again, very emotional, having to do with like family ties and things going through the centuries, things like that. So, and also the whole was really good too. So these were all really great, really great books. And then for this one, I used a strawberry plant at the bottom for the decoration. And then this is when I started to fill in the extra space with a quote, if I had an extra space, since I never know how many books I'm going to read at the beginning of the month when I'm setting these up. In September, I wasn't really done with this style yet, so I wanted to kind of continue that. So I did a mushroom fungus theme over here. Again, these are all based on pictures of real mushrooms. So I tried to kind of get realistic coloration in this. And then here's more illustrations of different kinds of mushrooms, different species of mushrooms, a little bit bigger here. My favorite book this month was probably Private Rights by Julia Armfield. This is a little bit of a dystopian future climate crisis retelling of King Lear. And just really well written. Some people said the characters didn't feel different from each other, but I really like the characters in this book. And then also The Electric State. It's more of an art book, but I love the art of Simon Stålenhag. It does have a little science fiction story, but the main draw of that one is the art. And then this is when I tried out doing a vertical calendar. So I just have the days of the week listed down like this. So it was a little easier to show when I was reading things. And then this is the book review section. And I put these kind of wood fungus guys in the middle. Oh, and then I used a border of that brown craft paper and then drew a little wood grain on it to make it look like a wooden border on these things. And then we have October. Bam! Bold and graphic. I used acrylic paint pen for all of this, and this is based on a very specific artwork from a specific artist. So this is based on Yayoi Kusama. She's a super famous artist, and she does a lot of pumpkins and a lot of polka dots. And she also has these installations that are like mirrored rooms that you can go inside of them. This is what I did for the stats and the book cover page. So I kind of continued with that polka dot theme and copied some of her funky pumpkins. So since it was October, I did pumpkins, but I did it in a different way. And again, I read 4 books in this month. My favorite that month was Absolution, because that was the 4th book coming out in that same Area X Southern Reach series that I mentioned in January. So I don't know if that would have been a favorite for everyone, but because I love that series so much, that was my favorite there. And then this is Rest Stop by Nat Cassidy. It was a really weird horror. I enjoyed it a lot. Nat Cassidy is probably hands down my favorite horror author. This was just a novella, a little short one, but he has a new novel coming out. But Mary and Nestlings are 2 of my favorite horror books of all time, and those are by Nat Cassidy. And then for this book review section, I did more polka dots and then wrote over top of it like this. In this fall, I started getting more into art. Like I did Inktober in the month of October, where you draw a sketch or drawing every single day based on a prompt. And I had purchased a lot of new art supplies like oil pastels and colored pencils. So this is when I started really getting into colored pencil, and I wanted to try doing a colored pencil illustration in here. So these are pomegranates. It's kind of a winter fruit, for at least in the area of the world where I live. And I had a lot of fun with this. Took a really long time because colored pencil takes forever to do, but I really like how it turned out. I read 5 books that month. I kind of condensed the pages into fewer pages here. So I have my book reviews, just a little teeny stats thing, and then the calendar here. I really, really liked The Employees. Again, it was a super weird book, so you might see a theme here. If it's super bizarre, those are my favorite books. Ta-Nehisi Coates is a gorgeous, amazing writer, so this was 5 stars. And then these are 2 nonfiction books about resistance against an occupying force. So I have a little bit of interest in that right now. So those are both very informative and very interesting nonfiction books. And then for my review page, I have some smaller pomegranates and little leaves up here as the decoration. And then finally, December. So this is not 100% filled out yet because December's not over yet. I still have like 6 or 7 days left. So I might end up adding more to this. So this is partially filled out, but you can see it anyway. So far I've read 3 books. These are all nonfiction. So I started to get into a nonfiction streak here. King Leopold's Ghost, I mentioned earlier, is about the genocide and colonialism that happened in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The Message is Ta-Nehisi Coates' newest book, which is amazing. He's such an empathetic writer. Like, everything he writes is beautiful and has so much emotion in it. It has 3 different sections, but the section that was interesting to me the most was the part about Palestine, where he traveled to Israel and talked to a bunch of different people and really treated the situation in a nuanced way, I thought. And then once I read this one, I really wanted to know more about Palestine. So then I read The 100 Years' War on Palestine, which is basically the entire history of the settler colonialism, starting from early 1900s until now. All of these are very emotional, difficult books, but I really felt like I needed to know more about those things since these things are going on right now. All right, this is how I did the calendar here. As you can see, this is rainbow. Again, I did this with my colored pencils. And this is a little like 6 months late Pride theme. I am part of the LGBTQIA plus community. I'm gender non-binary, and my pronouns are they and them. I just felt like I missed the Pride theme in the summer, and I felt like doing it now, so that's what I did. And here are my book review pages, and I left this one blank. I haven't put any quote in there because I may finish another book before the end of the year, so I'll stick that guy in there. And that is everything in my 2024 reading journal. Thank you so much for joining me. I had so much fun doing these 2 journals this year. Again, this is my main content for my channel. The setup of my artistic spreads every month, and then the review video and filling in the pages at the end of the month. So if you would like to see me doing that every month, you can always subscribe. That would be great to have you here in this community with me. I appreciate all of you that have been watching so far. Thank you very much. All my links to all of my social media stuff, Instagram, Substack, everything is in my link tree, and you can find that in the description box. I hope you had a good year, and even if you didn't have a good year, I hope you found some little pockets of joy here and there, and were able to do something creative for yourself every once in a while. I really hope you'll join me for some more relaxing and artistic videos in the new year, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.